to talk a little bit more about a subject I began to tackle last week. How to conquer your sales fears. And it's a very interesting article that was in entrepreneur.com. And one of the things that I immediately tackled was the first impression. How to overcome that first impression. If it's a negative one, you sometimes can't recover from that. Well, of course, one of the issues is dressing properly. And we talked about that last week. But we're also going to talk about some things that make people very nervous, the fear that they're going to be rejected. Well, I'm sorry to tell you this, but if you're in sales, you need to conquer that fear immediately. It's an easy fear to have, but it goes back to being courageous no matter what. And remember, courage is not necessarily the lack of fear, but it is the ability to proceed even when you are fearful. And that's really the key to being a good salesperson, walking in there when you don't want to. I remember a situation years ago when I worked for a firm, and I was supposed to be on the road pretty regularly visiting clients. And one client that had me come out to meet them, it was a junkyard, and it turned out that they had junkyard dogs. And let me tell you, you pull up into a junkyard, you get out of your car, and you're surrounded by two really mean-looking Dobermans who are growling at you. And the person's up there saying, hey, no problem, come on in. Come in, there's no problem. Don't worry about them. They're not going to do you any harm. That's courage when you want the sale enough to walk past those growling Dobermans and walk into that little office to get that sale. And it's just one example of many. Sometimes it's courage to go to a cocktail party and strike up a chat with somebody that you've never met before, going to a business networking group, talking to them about your business. You know, I tend to not be always a big talker, despite the fact that I have a radio show. And it takes that courage to really push yourself past that point. So again, sometimes it's just a question of doing it and denying that fear. So another fear is that you'll come across as pushy. Well, it goes back to this other fear. Either you want the sale or you don't. If you're afraid you're going to be seen as pushy, then you might as well just hang it up, because you're always going to be viewed as being pushy by someone, and you're not going to make friends with everybody. Unfortunately, that's the way it is for us in sales. The key is to try to get that sale because you believe that you're doing the customer good. And really, you deserve that sale, and you deserve the money that you get from that sale. You're putting work into it. The gift of gab doesn't always come cheap, but you should be paid for what you put out. Another thing to talk about here is a lot of salespeople fear that they can't deliver what they promise. Well, again, a lot of that goes back to having confidence in yourself, or at least proceeding even when you don't have confidence, knowing your facts, getting to know your products well, being willing to take the chance to really introduce your client to a superior product, knowing that it's superior, or if it's not superior, knowing why it's the best choice for your client. In the past, when I've had a client come to me, I have at times said, hey, my product's not a great fit for you. I wish it were. But unfortunately, you need to go here, or you need to go there, or there's not any hope for you at all. It's not always fun, but those customers do respect that. And I have had customers come back a year later or months later and say, you know what, I remember you were honest with me, and now the situation has changed, and I can come to you, and I do need your product, and I was able to sign them up. So it was a fabulous opportunity, and all because I did the honorable thing when it would have been much easier to just take their money and run. And that's a key issue. You develop your name. Your name is gold when you're in sales. Don't mess things up by pushing too hard or selling the wrong product just to make a fast buck. Very easy to do. I've seen many salespeople do that, and I don't respect them, and neither do most of the people who are associated with them. So I guess it goes back to the golden rule: treat others as you would like to be treated, and it will come back to you. And, of course, that's also the negative part of the golden rule. If you treat people like you don't want to be treated yourself, well, guess what? Karma comes around.